Good morning, everyone. So today I want to go through some of the test review slides as well as talk about what I am unable to be in class for right now, and that is kind of what the next few weeks are going to look like. As has this been a very much a self-directed simulation style course, you may have realized we don't have a lot of face-to-face time, which I actually miss, and I kind of wish that we had more of a lecture discussion base, and hopefully you can still log in and see me live on our Tuesday classes, which are at 9 a.m. and noon, and I will see you then. But let's get to the material that this video is supposed to talk about. So here we go. So the format of test. So the test will be next week for you, and the format's going to be based on this. So last test was more so long answer questions, 10 of which I kind of liked, but at the same time, sometimes people struggled with some of those, or I didn't give enough context, or in all seriousness, many of you haven't really worked in these restaurant settings. So some of the questions I was asking you, giving me examples, may have been just out of your depth of knowledge. So what I'll be doing is somewhat similar. So I will have a large set of multiple choice and true and false questions. And now these are going to be gathered from the concept overview. So the things that you're actually learning and doing. And then there will be some short answer questions as well, because I think those are really important for you to try to articulate how to speak and answer a question thoroughly. So these are going to be pulled from the discussion questions on the case briefings, and we'll also go through those right after this. So you're only going to have 60 minutes. I figure you will probably have 25 multiple choice true and false questions and probably only 4 short answer questions. Pulled randomly from a set of, probably 50 multiple choice and I think 20 short answer questions. So depending on who you are and what's happening, they might be quite different. My camera's so weird. Okay. And then you're going to have 60 minutes. So once you open up the test, you'll have 60 minutes to complete it. You can start the test anytime within that 3-hour period of our class. So if you're Monday, this is 1 to 4. If you're my Tuesday classes, you're either 8 to 11, although we all often start at 9 just for the sake of everyone, but 8 to 11 for Tuesday morning, or Tuesday afternoon is 12 to 3. That being said, once you log on, you have 60 minutes. If you log on, if the class goes from noon till 3 and you log it at 2:30, in half an hour, the class will technically end, and so will your test. So you don't get to start at the last minute of class and still get that hour. So once the class is over, your test will automatically submit. So make sure you give yourself enough time. A couple questions that are going to be asked of you. So there's going to be 4 for each one. This one's on layout. So as an example, when you look at an incomplete shell of a restaurant space you are leasing, discuss the main factors that you must consider. Now, if we are looking at an incomplete shell, and this is going to help you in your major project, you have a blank space. What you really need to think about are what are your main space takers, right? So your bar area, some of your larger tables, your kitchen equipment. These are all the big pieces that are not easily manipulable. You can't move around that easily. So you want to think about those. And then you also want to think about the movements. So the movement of people. So how do customers walk in? Where do they like to go? Washrooms, the bar, to their table, and then also employees, their movements, and then as well as how the food moves around the restaurant. So you look at those 3 main movements right there. That's probably how you would answer that question best. The relationship between your kitchen design and your menu. Basically, if you were to write your menu, you basically are laying out all of the equipment that's needed. As an example, if I put a steak on the menu, now I need a grill. If I put French fries, I need a deep fryer. If I put waffles, I need a waffle maker. So the size of your restaurant might really dictate, and the size of your kitchen, what your menu could look like, or vice versa. If you create your menu first, that will dictate how big or what kind of equipment your kitchen is going to require. It's also very important when you're doing your menu that you have some variety of cooking methods. So I don't want an appetizer list of 10 different appetizers. Where's my camera here? 10 different appetizers. And on those appetizers, they're all deep fried, which means I'm going to need a lot of deep fryers. So you got to make sure you want to really space out or just make it varied as far as the way that they are cooked. How does your concept affect your dining room layout? This is a simple answer. If you are a breakfast place, it's bright, it's shiny, it's smaller tables. You're not really worried about lots of space in the aisles. You're not really worried as much about the fixtures. Same thing with a diner or a fast food place versus a fine dining, more intimate area. You must think that, okay, my layout has to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more comfortable, maybe deeper tables and booths, maybe more space in between. So depending on your concept and the price point that comes with that, that'll affect your dining room layout and how it looks. As well, if you have like some sort of different style of cooking, so you do at the table cooking, or if you have some kind of special stations that are required, that is also going to affect your layout, even if you have an open kitchen as an example. And then some of the advantageous options for the acquisition of equipment for a restaurant kitchen. So kitchen equipment is very expensive, like very expensive, but we don't necessarily need to buy all of our kitchen equipment brand new. So you can buy new or used. There's always restaurants going out of business and always new restaurants being created. We're very cyclical, right? Some people like to get into a restaurant, but they don't want to run it for 50 years. They run it for 5 or 10 and they decide that that's good. They get out, they take their money and go. So you could lease equipment, which is like a rental program, or you can rent to own. Where it works with leasing is that if you think that this piece of equipment might not be needed for the length of the time of your restaurant being open for. So as a pizza place with a pizza oven, maybe you want to buy that. Maybe you want to buy it brand new. That's one of your staple foods. But let's say like that waffle maker. So if I buy a $400 waffle maker, or I can lease it for a year for $100, I don't know how much or how the waffles will stay on my menu. My dessert menu might change. Waffles will come off. No one wants to do it anymore, right? It's too fatty or too rich, or it's just not a good seller. So you may lease some of the equipment. Also with like POS stations and the debit terminals and things like that, when you lease them, often what happens is that you have protection, and those things break sometimes. They get dropped, they get stolen, new software comes out, new upgrades. So things that might need to be replaced every year or two anyways, sometimes it makes sense to lease them. Staffing. So staffing, if you're a restaurant manager right now, this is probably your number one concern, as staffing is very difficult. It's great for you as a student. It's not as great for the actual operation side of these establishments because it's hard to staff. But you guys get your pick of your job and your schedule and can really dictate the terms of your own employment, which is awesome. The first question is, average restaurant week part sales usually show Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday be less than half the customer volume as of Friday and Saturday. It's a very complicated sentence saying it's busier on the weekends. What are some of the ways that you can keep overall staff morale up? So when it comes to restaurants, typically set schedules aren't something that you have. Some people do want, let's say, day shifts through the week. So they want to work Monday to Friday and want to be home for dinner. And if you're opening for breakfast or lunch, that can be possible. Typically what happens in many restaurants is that you fluctuate your schedule. So you might get a weekend off once a month. You might get the odd Friday or Sunday off to spend with family and friends. And you might also have to work some of the slow shifts. Usually seniority and also strength have a play in who gets the better shifts, because there are better shifts. If you're in a unionized environment, which hopefully you're not, that really limits you. But otherwise, the way I like to think about it is I do the most for the people who do the most for me. And by me, I mean my business. So the people who always pick up shifts, who can stay late, someone calls in sick, you call them, who get good customer reviews. These are all the things that you want them there, right? You don't want them to leave. You want them to feel valued. The other people who call in because they're hungover, they call in sick because they're hungover, or they're not doing a very good job, or they're messy, or they just have a bad attitude. Those people, if you can't train them to be better, those are the ones who should get less shifts because they haven't earned the right to have better shifts. Seniority does play a factor, but shouldn't play the only factor. yes, somebody that's been working for me 10 years and has seen my kids grow up and has been there for me, I want to treat properly, but it's not necessarily a free pass to not work hard. Staff training is important. So it's number 2 for multiple reasons. A, you want to just keep them up to date with everything that's going on, specifically now with new COVID protocols, with all kinds of new alcohol coming out, with the potential of different, man, my camera sucks. Sorry. The potential of, there you go. Different, what was I going to say? With marijuana being legal now and them ingesting marijuana, so smart serve training and those kind of things. And then as well as just keeping up to date on the menu. And when someone says, okay, what's in this? I have an allergy to salt or garlic or something, you need to know everything. So in order to do a good job, the staff needs to be trained properly. On the other side, when I invest time into my staff in the way of training, while some people may roll their eyes and be like, I have to come in on a Saturday morning, generally they just enjoy it. They think it's valuable, and it shows that I'm investing in my employees, and the employees notice that. And they say, hey, we have training days, we do special occasions, we get to go to a Blue Jays game, we have staff parties. These are all great things to also help with number 1 question, which is keep staff morale up, but also help with staff training. Aside from the days of the week, what are some of the reasons you may need to schedule extra staff? So holidays, of course. So during the Christmas holidays, usually you have a lot of end of the year parties. Depending on your location, seasonality and weather concerns. So as an example, even like a resort like Deerhurst Resort that's open year round, their busy season falls in and around those holidays because there's also a ski hill closely related to them. But also mostly in the summer, right? Because they're more of a summer destination. So it's one of those things that they have to ramp up their scheduling in the summer, and they'll pull it back off in the other days. And then also think about things that are happening in your own town. So there's festivals, there's events, there's a PD day at your local school. If there's a graduation at a high school, people go for dinner more. Those are all things that can happen. And the last one is, how can you use social media feedback on restaurant staff service? So I know when I manage, and I know with my wife right now where she manages and she serves, they look at social media feedback the day of mostly, if not the next shift. So they'll talk to the server. They'll say, hey, you had a couple great comments or you had a couple bad comments. When we talk about the great ones, maybe reward them. You say, you know what, have a meal on us tonight, whatever you want to take home, or have a drink at the bar after. Or if it's negative, you say, you talk about what you could have done, what could have happened to make it a better experience. And you really have to still back up your restaurant staff, make it a teachable moment, because sometimes when they get on these review sites, they exaggerate some of the negatives. And if it's a long wait and that has nothing to do with the server and it was the kitchen, then really what are you trying to make them feel bad for? Digital marketing discussion. So what are the advantages, disadvantages of digital marketing over print, video, and audio advertising? So there's a couple answers to this, of course. Number 1 being is that you can specify what you want your targeted ad to go to. So there's a special niche. So if you are a high-end intimate steakhouse, you're not going to try to go for people under 21. You're not going to try to go for people over 80 years old. You don't want vegetarians. There's all these different people who you might exclude from your digital marketing. Whereas in print, video, and audio, it's, you don't know who you're really catering these messages to. So you got to be careful of that. What process would you use in figuring out how to target your niche customer? So typically what you do is you first start with designing your concept around who are these particular customers. What do they like to do? What do their homes look like, or their offices? So my concept may reflect their upscale idea of a nice restaurant. So I have the design components of that. I also want my menu to reflect that. So if it's sustainably or environmentally conscious food items, and that's important to them, that might be something I want to bring into my menu, or unique food choices. And then generally just look at the demographics and the psychographics. So demographics are, what do they look like? What are their ages? Where do they work? How much money they make? What's their education? That kind of stuff. Where do they live? Psychographics is what kind of activities and what things do they like to spend their time and money on outside of those work environments. What are some of the ways to use social media Number 2, as another example, when I worked we built Red Line Brewhouse's brewery in town, but we also found a lot of our customers love dogs. So we would bring in dogs to the brewery. We'd do adoption services. You could buy in our retail shop. You could buy bandanas and crates and cookies and all the dog stuff and collars and leashes that are branded. And we're a brewery, but we're a brewery that also has charitable moments that we reach out to try to help dogs and cats, but mostly just dogs of our local areas. So that's another way of how we figured out, wow, this has nothing to do with the food that we serve necessarily. It's one of our concept statements. It's who we are as a restaurant, and customers can get behind that. What are some ways to use social media to promote your restaurant in addition to paying for advertising? Of course, you want to have your own page. You want reviews, opening hours, menu, all that kind of stuff on your social media, as well as have a personality. So most social media sites or businesses act like they're just an information page. Rather, we want our concept, our restaurant concept, to have its own brand of personality. If you're a fine dining steakhouse, maybe you're more aloof and you're special. And if you're at Jack Astor's or Eastside Mario's, you're more friendly and kid central. These are the ways that we want to communicate with our people, and even just what kind of how we type out our messages. We always want to talk about some other things. So it could be delicious images of food that we serve. It could be pictures of people inside the restaurant. It could be any awards or reviews that we have received that we also want to promote. These are some of the ways that social media can do it. I would also encourage your staff to promote through social media as well, to a point. You may want to train them. So on that whole staffing discussion, some of the training should involve how do you promote your workplace through social media without stepping outside what is acceptable. But you definitely want to encourage your staff to help that, because really the busier restaurant helps the servers and the bartenders make more money, and they tip out the kitchen staff and they make more money, and it's just a win-win. And then how would you respond to negative social media posts and comments about your restaurant? You always want to respond to the comment addressing the concern, and if relevant, mention the corrective action. So it might be a gift card, it might be just a phone call, it might be talking to the server or the cook about those situations. It shouldn't be necessarily an automatic freebie. You may want to invite them back and give them a free appetizer or something like that. And then also understand that sometimes you drop the ball. You aren't able to address that concern while you're in the restaurant per se. So they leave unhappy, and it happens. It shouldn't happen too often. So you address it and say, we're always working on being better. Thank you so much. And then sometimes there's just going to be those people that you cannot please. It's hard to identify the ones who actually had an issue versus the ones who just want to have an issue. So you have to kind of play that by ear. But if there are sometimes ones that you just can't please, and you just have to kind of move on from them. Okay, menu engineering discussion. I love this stuff. So menu engineering. So what are some of the reasons not to get rid of dogs from a menu? So if you don't understand what a dog is, go through all the menu engineering simulation. We have stars, which are awesome. Then you have dogs, which are horrible. And then you have puzzles and plow horses. A puzzle is where it's highly profitable. It has a good contribution margin, but it is not popular. And it is a puzzle why we cannot sell any more of these. A plow horse is the opposite of a puzzle. So it is not very profitable. We don't make a lot of money when we sell them, but we sell a lot of them. Chicken wings at a pub. You sell a lot of chicken wings. You don't make a lot of money off them because they're so expensive to buy. And then there's sauces and dips and all the other stuff that comes along with it. But we get bums in seats by having them on our menu, and a lot of people like them. And they wouldn't like them if we charge $5 more. So those are what those are. There's solutions for all of them. For dogs, though, first of all, it is your worst. There's sometimes several on a menu. it is some of the worst performing menu items you have. But you can't get rid of all dogs. So as an example, let's say it's a vegetarian pasta. It's a vegetarian dish. It's the only one you have on the menu. You can't get rid of that because you're not now offering that vegetarian dish. Same thing with like crab legs or like a seafood platter. You're a high-end steakhouse, steak and surf and turf kind of place. You have seafood on your menu, even though you don't sell a lot of them. And even when you do, you don't make a ton of money off them. It's important to have those seafood platters and crab legs on the menu. It's part of your signature item or your concept items. It could be also that you have some regulars who always ordered it and it doesn't really cost you that much to have on the menu. Or if you have all of the ingredients for that particular dish, so chicken parmesan, I have chicken, I have breadcrumbs, I have tomato sauce, I have linguine, I have cheese. I have all those things in the building already for that I use in other dishes. It's not hard for me to make a chicken parmesan. It doesn't cost me anything more to bring in items, even if I don't sell a lot of them. So that's a reason to keep a dog. So those are some of the things that you could do. And of course you can kind of change. So what the idea is also with those dogs is if you can't get rid of them, then how can you alter them? So maybe for those regulars, you take it off the menu, but you still allow them to order it. That way you're going to slowly get rid of all those items and it'll slowly come off your menu, but you're not going to make any of your loyal customers angry. You could raise prices, you could try to promote it to try to change this from a dog to a plow horse or a puzzle. But this is often where the cutting usually comes from first. So you want to cut those out of your menu when it makes sense to. Where else in the restaurant business could a similar scientific approach be useful? So of course you want to do this also with your bar menu. That's an important place to do this. And you can also do it around some purchased ingredients. So as an example, we want to go through all of our purchased ingredients and figure out what's our return on cost. Maybe if we up the quantity of these items, then therefore we can reduce some of the cost to us. And you can even look at some of your dogs or your plow horses and say, okay, now that I know they're already not really producing what I want them to be, what if I change out a couple ingredients? So again, I'm kind of altering it, but it might be just making a bit of a change. We could also do this with changes to staff. So staffing could be looked at from a menu engineering or a staff engineering. If you could rate your staff versus what their ability is to handle lots of tables, which would be a star, and therefore maybe they can't handle that many. And a plow horse or a puzzle could be people who, they have a great attitude, or they help with a lot of side duty, or they're good for morale in the restaurant, or they have a lot of regulars. This same kind of scientific approach could be used for them. So ensuring on every shift you have a morale builder, you have someone that can handle a lot of business, you can have someone that's very knowledgeable and been there a long time, you have a leader, and just looking at your staffing schedule that way. Question 3, what are the limitations of only using the menu engineering approach? Well, it does not consider menu flow. So there are intangibles that sometimes are on a menu. They're part of the main theme of the menu. It is one tool or one pair of glasses that you get to look at your menu, but should not be the only one. There are limitations to it. So just like if we removed all of our dogs, we are probably removing fan favorites, really low cost meals for people who maybe can't afford meals, and you live in that kind of area where you have some customers like that. It could be staff favorites. It could be, it's my only pasta dish, it's my only steak dish, it's my only steak sandwich, something like that, where you take it off and it ruins the menu flow. So all of my dogs are appetizers. So I just cut the appetizer list in half as an example. So there's a lot of different ways to look at that question. Again, menu engineering is just one way that you would critique your menu. And then from there, start saying, okay, what happens if I remove this? Is there any negative fallout from it, or can I just alter it or change it? And last question is, what might be different in using menu engineering for fast food as compared to fine dining? What a great question. So your criteria for margin, so your contribution margin will be lower. because fast food is more so a numbers game. So we want to sell a lot of side of fries and a lot of Big Macs or McDoubles or whatever you buy to make that money. So lower margins, but they don't really spend much time, and it's usually through a drive-through factor. So I think you'd almost have to separate drive-through and dine-in as well. You also might not be able to remove menu items because simply they're expected to be at that type of restaurant. So even when you look at a McDonald's, they have a fish fillet, I think they always have. It can't be a popular item. I don't think they sell a lot of them. Wendy's has a chili. I don't think they sell a lot of them, but they probably won't get rid of it. Or a baked potato, they won't get rid of it because it's just easy to have. And I used to work at a Wendy's when I was a kid, and I know the chili is just made up from all the burgers that they didn't sell because they are fresh, never frozen burgers, and they take quite a while to cook. So on the grill, or the flat top, they're always cooking a few off, getting them ready. But at a certain point, if someone doesn't come in and order them, they've been on there too long, they have to get rid of them. So they chop them up and put them in chili. Probably don't order that. And yeah, so that kind of does it for the menu engineering questions. You will be asked at least one of these four for each of the last four topics: layout, staffing, digital marketing, menu engineering. Of those questions, I will also ask a little bit more. Okay, so I might just say, what are some of the reasons to not get rid of dogs from a menu? Give me 3 examples of not removing dogs from a fine dining establishment. And so you'd have to go through and come up with a couple items and say, hey, I wouldn't get rid of these because of these reasons. That might not be a perfect example, so I just kind of threw it out of my mind. Yeah, and I might ask you questions just like, how does your concept affect your dining room layout? Tell me how what a design of maybe a kid-friendly restaurant might be different than a fine dining. So I'll give you like a little bit more detail, ask you to answer with a little bit more specifications. Okay, so next is the simulation project. So these are open as of now. So if you're watching this, they're open as of 2 hours ago, Monday morning. So those are 2 projects worth 5% each, one of which is called the turnaround restaurant. So you take over management of a restaurant with a complete menu, concept, and customer base, and you must turn around this unsuccessful restaurant. So they've already selected your location, you know what's on the menu, you know if it's a business or family or couples, that kind of stuff. And then you just must, using that information and looking at already some previous complaints and your menu mix, find out what's going on and how to fix it. As well, the next one is Restaurant Mogul. So a little bit different, where nothing has been created. Absolutely nothing. There's no tables. There's no kitchen. There's no location. You do it all. You name it. You advertise it. You have fun with it. And that would be the Restaurant Mogul, which both of these you'll get 2 attempts. Once you hit a certain amount of income, it just closes. I've had the request multiple times if I could take that off so they can just keep playing and see how successful they can get. Unfortunately, I can't. I put it at the highest difficulty so it doesn't just close down rather simply. So just have fun with it, and there's always 2 attempts so you can try it again. Advertising is not something that I actually opened up because restaurants do very little advertising as it's a very expensive thing. Some of the bigger brands like your Recipe and Cara Foods and Kegs will do those mail drops, or you'll see commercials or things like that. But most small businesses do very little traditional advertising, video, audio, and print. It's usually social media or in-house. So I did open that up. I think it might be called week 10 or week 9. I'm not sure, under your virtual business case sims. You can do it. It will help you for those major projects. It's also kind of fun. It's not worth any marks, but you can definitely still go ahead and do that. Okay? So those are the simulation projects. I don't have it open, unfortunately. I would show you, but I will show you, for those of you who are in class, I'll show you. It's under Blackboard. It's week 13 and 14, so you can't miss it. Okay, and then my next question is really, what are you guys up to after next semester? So this is very much more like just a a back and forth discussion that I wanted to have with you. You guys that are just watching this, you can't really talk to me, but just to give you a couple things to think about. And now is the perfect time to make some of these plans. Are you already working where you will be going? So some of you have part-time jobs that are going to either turn into a co-op or hopefully just a full-time job. Many of you I know are international students, which means there's also this requirement of a supervisory position. Now, many of you make the same mistake. You walk into a job asking for a management position or saying, I need a management position within 1 year. Now, the problem with that is that most people, most employers, when they want to hire someone, they don't know. They don't know in 1 year if they're going to have a supervisory position available for you, or right now, or in 3 months, or 6 months, or 10 years. They really don't know. So you should just do your own. You should get that job. Take the job. Be happy for it. Don't ask them questions if they haven't even seen you work a single shift yet. Because I don't know if you're supervisor material, so you're really putting the cart before the horse. And you're kind of making yourself not look great to an employer. So what you should be doing is when you get there working, then you ask those questions to other workers. You look at the ages of some of the managers, where they are in their life cycle. Are they going to be retiring soon? Is it transitory? So do they come in, they work a season, and then they kind of hire new management every single year? Get a feel for it first, and then also make yourself look really great, work hard, become indispensable. And then you can start asking those questions. And then you'll have a little bit of strength, something more solid footing to stand on when you start asking those. Are you looking for a new job or a different role or in a different industry even? Listen, we're all hospitality students. It's a fantastic industry. I think there's so much opportunity out there for you. That doesn't mean that you love it. Not everyone loves it. Some people go to college to understand what they do and do not like. And some people say, you know what? I never knew that I was going to love working in the housekeeping department so much. And then you might want to become a manager and work in a really nice place and do that kind of job. And then some people say, I was a server and I never want to do it again. Now you know at least. You're not going to, it's a role, it's a business-based course. You can use this schooling, and many people have, to get other styles of jobs out there. You can work in social media and marketing and business and sales, which really have nothing to do with hospitality other than the fact that that's where your customer is. Instead of buying a new purse or a new iPhone, they're buying a vacation, right? So other than that, you're just working an office job 9 to 5, working and making commission and a base salary. There are so many things for you to do, but the advantage for you now is that you do have the background of working probably a co-op and also just knowing how the industry works, right? I don't know how the auto sales industry works. I know how the hospitality sales industry works, though. If you are interested in more schooling, we have postgrads. You can change your 2-year diploma into a 3-year diploma. I believe you get extra time and more points if you're looking for PR. So you get a longer work permit and then also a few more points. I'm not sure exactly what those are. Or are you just not ready to go into the world yet, right? You think it's still kind of on lockdown. An extra year of schooling with an advanced diploma might really raise the bar for you and be able to get you into a higher position. I know for me, if I did not do the schooling that I did, I don't know where I'd be. But I know I wouldn't be as financially stable and as happy as I am. I am happy, guys, by the way. I'm very happy. So I also didn't see the immediate payback from some of it, right? So I went right from Georgian College and got a degree, and I went out to Kamloops University, or the Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops, and got my degree out of there. It was perfect. I loved out west. I had great jobs and great friends, and it was really worked well for me. And then I went into management of restaurants when I came back. I didn't need a degree probably to manage those restaurants. And then when I was managing restaurants, I had an opportunity to take my master's of education, and the school or in the restaurant paid for 50% of it. I thought I was going to go corporate because it was a corporate restaurant. They own like 200 different restaurants, and I was going to work my way up the corporate ladder. And I still think that would probably be a good fit. And I'd have a lot of fun doing it. But that being said, I also loved teaching and working with students, and I'd come back and do some guest lectures for fun. And I thought, you know what, that's a really great job. Either way, so I got my degree and I managed restaurants. Without my degree, maybe I probably would have gotten the same job. I might not have been considered for the corporate world in hospitality. And then when I got my master's, I got it in 2012. I didn't get full-time at the college to 2018. So I got master's for 6 years just sitting on a shelf, gathering dust. But when a job opening did open up, I interviewed against nobody of the 80 part-time faculty and partial load faculty at Georgian College. I was the only one with the master's and the level of years of senior management experience at a restaurant that was able to get interviewed, right? So it wasn't necessarily that I was the best fit, although I do think I am. It was because I got the right schooling and I had some good experience, and I was just waiting and biding my time. You're opting now. So anyways, Royal Roads has a fantastic articulation program. I think you go there in 2 years or 2.5 years, you get a degree and a master's, because they kind of shrink it all together and put it nice and tight for you. There's no better, I've looked at a lot of these, there's no better dollar amount of your investment to get as many pieces of paper as you're going to get out of this. You can have a 2-year diploma. You're going to have if you do you can do the 3-year, which I might actually recommend. Go 2-year diploma, 3-year advanced diploma, 4-year degree, and a master's of tourism, all in 4.5 to 5 years of schooling. It's insane. And just your walls will be covered with plaques and diplomas and stuff. And you'll be like 23. So that's a great option to do it. The only reason I recommend the 3rd year at Georgian, you can do 2 years at Royal Roads or 1 year. They'll accept our credits as a match. I just know college rates will be a little bit less expensive than the university rates. International, I don't know though. Co-op or grad position. So you're either entering into your co-op or your graduation position now. Again, just think about where you're going, what you're doing. If a co-op's a great test period, so it's easier to get a co-op than a full-time graduate position, because co-ops can be 4 months and then sometimes we need seasonal work. It's also much easier to get a full-time position after your successful co-op with the same company. So they've seen you for 4 or 5 months. They know you're good, you're valuable, they want to keep you. Then they may offer you that supervisory or management or some sort of position. And then, of course, some of you, and specifically, again, international, getting PR in different provinces is sometimes easy. It's why we have a lot of our students in Winnipeg right now or out west. This is a good time now to start making these plans for the future, because we have another full semester of schooling. We have time to think about it, do our research, and we have an upcoming career fair. So what I want you to do is that I'm going to post this lecture as well for you. This right here is about 80 or 90 companies of who we have had at the college career fair. I want you to go to this link and select all the ones that you want to see, and I'll make sure that they are there for us to potentially get jobs with. Okay? So you go through, press Control and click on this, or if it's a live slideshow, you just click on it and away you go. So week 12 is a test. Right now, the week 13 and 14 projects are open. There is no reason that you can't finish them even before the test next week, and you will be done this entire course as early as next week after your class, which gives you a couple more weeks for you to focus more on what you want to, what you have to do in your other courses, and then also just give you some more time. So thank you so much for listening to the last 39 minutes. That is not supposed to be that long. Again, show up to my live class, lots to talk about. I really just want to chat with you guys, see if I can help you with anything, give you a little bit of guidance because I had guidance, I had a mentor, I had people kind of direct me one way or the other. I think there's some really cool new fields in our industry that are opening up. I don't know exactly how to make sure that you stand out. I'm still thinking about that, but I know there's some neat ways to do it. So anyways, log on, talk to me, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much. If this is the last time you see my video, because this might be the last one you are going to watch, I wish you a lovely holiday season. I can't wait to see you next semester, And thanks so much for being a part of my class. I know we didn't have a ton of face-to-face time, but I do feel connected to each and all of you. And God bless.